What if your dream life has been waiting for you all along? Why do my desires feel like sacred blueprints, already embedded in the invisible lattice of my life, humming through time, hidden only until I'm ready to see? Why do they shimmer like holograms of futures that already know my name, patiently vibrating in the background until my attention calls them forward? Why does it seem like my longing is not a reaching out but a looking in, not a future fantasy but a deeply rooted memory echoing from eternity? Why does every heartbeat feel like an architect's pulse, each thought like a builder's hand, every belief like scaffolding in the unseen? Why do I now realize that what I want is not built by time, but revealed through truth? Why does the world around me mold and shift, as if sculpted by the rhythm of my inner world, forming in harmony with every emotion I allow, every vision I hold, every frequency I claim? Why does desire shape matter like water shapes stone, with subtle power, steady presence, sacred precision? Why do ideas take form the moment I stop resisting, and become real the moment I stop doubting? Why does my imagination no longer feel like a distant dream, but a living draft, an open canvas, a multi-dimensional schematic of my becoming? Why does every possibility feel physical the moment I choose to feel it fully? Why does the invisible space between what is and what could be feel thinner every time I align with who I truly am? Why does it seem like the universe doesn't ask me to create from scratch, but to remember, to recall, to reawaken what was always stored in the vault of my soul? Why do my choices unlock timelines like keys opening long-sealed chambers, like codes activating a system that already knows the outcome? Why does the reality I desire not need to be invented, only invited, only allowed, only received? Why does manifestation feel less like building and more like unveiling? Why does every inspired moment whisper that the three-dimensional version of my life is already breathing beneath the surface, waiting not for proof but for permission? Why do I feel the energy of that life pulling me forward, not with pressure but with resonance, not with fear but with familiarity, not with effort but with embodiment? Why do I sense that my imagination is not fantasy but frequency, not illusion but intelligence, not fiction but formation? Why does each act of clarity align me, and each act of joy accelerate me, and each act of trust ground me deeper into that unseen form? Why do I now feel my future self walking beside me in every step, guiding me not with commands but with confidence, not with instructions but with inner knowing, not with urgency but with unconditional presence? Why does life mirror me with such accuracy that I can't ignore the architecture of belief, the scaffolding of emotion, the sacred geometry of self-worth? Why does the structure of reality respond not to action alone, but to alignment, to authenticity, to audacity of vision? Why does everything feel more real when I decide I'm ready to receive it, not prove it? Why does every desire I hold already exist as a perfect three-dimensional creation, waiting behind the veil of my old disbelief? Why does it feel like I've never been waiting for my dream life, but my dream life has been waiting for the real me? Why do I now walk not as a seeker but as a sculptor, not as a beggar but as a builder, not as a chaser but as a creator? Why is this not about someday but about sinking? Why is the life I imagine not a fantasy to chase but a reality to step into now?